Hello, and welcome to Recapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Recapping Podcast.
Also, rate, review, and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We want to hear your thoughts on the movies and shows we review.
Leave us a comment on Apple Podcasts or our YouTube channel, and we will read them during the show.
Or reach out to us on social media. We love talking all things entertainment and pop culture with you.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you.
Delora, we are so close to Halloween, and I love it. We have another recap for spooky season. This one is a throwback. Are you ready?
I am.
So I love this film because it is a childhood classic, and it also stars the Princess of Darkness of our era, Christina Ricci. And guys, the throwback recap we teased last week is 1995's Casper, currently available to stream on Peacock. Quick summary. An afterlife therapist and his daughter meet a friendly young ghost when they move into a crumbling mansion in order to rid the premises of wicked spirits. Now, guys, I know I have said many times on this podcast that I do not do ghosts and demons. Mm-hmm. This is the exception to that rule.
Right.
Cast Christina Ricci as Kat, Bill Pullman as Dr. Harvey, Catherine Moriarty as Kerrigan, Eric Idle as Dibbs, Malachi Pearson as the voice of Casper, Joe Napodi as the voice of Stretch, Joe Alasky as the voice of Stinky, Brad Garrett as the voice of Fatso, and Devin Sawa as Casper. Reviews: Rotten Tomatoes, 52% critic score, 50% audience score. But 85% of Google users gave Casper a thumbs up. What is your grade for this throwback recap, Delora?
Casper is one of my all-time favorites. Definitely grew up loving it. I mean, Casper in human form, you can tell me anything, okay? When I was itty bitty. And of course, our favorite line, "Can I keep you?"
Still gets me in my grunt age.
I legit teared up. I was not ready for that. I was like, why does this mean so much to me? I'm gonna grade it from those lenses. I mean, as an adult, there are some things that I've noticed that I'm like, oh, that's interesting. It's an A. How about you?
It's still an A for me too. It's a childhood classic. It is, cemented in my head and in my heart. And like I said, I loved Christina Ricci growing up. So any project she was in, I was already a fan of. And this one was no exception. And so to just throw in like the whimsy of Casper and their relationship and just the romance at a time when I didn't know what romance was.
What it was.
Yet I felt it was something. And Casper showed you how to treat a lady. Let me tell y'all that. Okay.
He was so caring. Yes. What is it? Something of service? Acts of service? That was Casper.
All right. Spoiler alert for anyone who has not seen this in the last, 30 years. So first question was going to be, how does Casper rank on your list of childhood Halloween classics? Give me your top 5. It does not have to be in any particular order.
Oh, thank God for that. Order. I think order would probably still be Hocus Pocus would be number 1. But some of the things that we've already talked about. So Hocus Pocus, Casper, Addams Family, Edward Scissorhands, and I'll just throw in Death Becomes Her too, you know what I mean? Like, oh, but the witches with Angelica Chris, I don't know. I think the witches will probably go up there before Death Becomes Her. I love the witches a lot.
All right. My top five: Halloween Town, Disney classic. For those of y'all who do
Yes,
not remember Halloween Town, that was my
Disney Channel.
shit. Yes. Hocus Pocus, of course, Casper as well, the Addams Family, and then Beetlejuice, definitely. And then I have to give a special mention to Little Monsters with Fred Savage, because that movie both delighted and terrified me that there would be something going on underneath my bed. Like,
Oh my
delighted
gosh.
and terrified me. So, top five. Guys, feel free to give us your top five in the comments of this episode. We love to hear it.
What about Practical Magic or The Craft?
I don't think I saw those when I was like a child. I don't
No,
remember either of
same.
them ranking. And Practical Magic still creeps me out a little bit to this day.
Does
So,
it?
yes, because when
Okay.
he got resurrected, he was scary. Mm-mm. Scared me. So, what would a ghost film be without a haunted mansion? And the haunted mansion in this film, I realized on this watch, it kind of looked like a mixture between like Willy Wonka and Aladdin. Did you get any type of like vibes from this mansion?
Well, because we recently recapped it, it reminded me of the Beetlejuice house in the fact that it was like on a hill. Like, you know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, but it was very whimsical for it to have been an old timey house. I wasn't really expecting that.
I think that's where the Willy Wonka comes from for me. I'm like, is the chocolate factory back in here somewhere?
I had no idea. And honestly, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the same design for Brandy Cinderella, like the house, like those colors, like the wines and the greens, and I don't know what that style is called. I usually know some styles like, Art Deco, mid-century. I don't know what to
Maybe
call
just
this.
fantasy or like fantastical or something a little bit.
Yeah,
Because there's actually
yeah.
multiple references to Cinderella throughout this film that I had never caught before.
Yes.
So I think that's very fair. Um, and it was just interesting because I don't think I ever paid so much attention to like the architecture of the mansion in my previous watches and kind of how they set the stage for Casper and for what they were going to come into.
It's funny that you say that because I don't know if I knew I liked the world of Casper, like especially at the different rooms within the house, and things along those lines. But one thing that I did not notice growing up that I absolutely noticed as an adult is how dirty and dusty everything was.
Hmm.
In the one scene where Casper was making them breakfast, I'm like, I wouldn't eat here. And that bathroom gave me hives. I'm like, does no one have allergies here? Like, I just need to know these things.
I guess you have to, adapt quick to haunted houses because ain't nobody coming to clean. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, because this house is haunted, it has a reputation in the community, right? And so we see a couple kids trying to come in and take a picture only to be scared off by a friendly ghost. Whipstaff Manor is the name of this place. And we've talked about this in multiple projects. Like houses that have a name just have a different aura to them. Like my future house, I'm just going to name it something just because I like the vibe of like, welcome to
Exactly.
the Whipstaff Manor. You know what
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
saying?
I'm here for it too. I've called my house Chateau Carlson before.
Well, there you
I haven't
go. Put a sign
I
up.
don't know if it's stuck yet, but we're we're figuring it out. It's being
Yeah.
workshopped.
Yeah. I like it. So the owner recently died, and his ungrateful daughter, as I put in my notes, Kerrigan, was gifted the property, which has been condemned. Let's be fair. But she finds out via the deed that there's allegedly a treasure in the house, and that sparks her interest in the place. The fact that grown adults in films really treasure hunt has always surprised me. Like it's always
Why
been one of the
not?
Like,
What
who
do you
has
think
ever,
anthropologists do?
but do they find treasure? Like, I feel like they
Sometimes
find bones and they find like artifacts, but like, do they
that
find
have worth.
gold?
I mean, I'm sure doing all that digging, they come up with something.
It always just felt very like childhood fantasy, like we're
I think,
pirates and we're gonna go,
yeah,
maybe it's just
very,
me.
very Goonies of them, right?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Goonies could be considered a Halloween movie in some way. It's like it's a good fall film.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess what we're the difference between what we're saying, because honestly, I feel like we're splitting hairs, is intention, right? Like what's the intention for archaeologists? They look for ruins and history and things like
Historical
that.
importance versus like, let's go on a treasure hunt.
But guess who be buried with their valuables? People and their money, their coins.
Okay. All right. Well, it felt very like childish to me for Kerrigan, but here we go. Right? Here we go. So she and her trusty sidekick Dibs go to the house, and guess what? They also encounter friendly ghost Casper, but they also encounter some non-friendly ghosts. A gang of non-friendly ghosts, in fact, who run them out of the house. So now they got to figure out how are we gonna get in this house and find this treasure. They bring in a priest who was somehow still alive, even though his neck was twisted, just like Meryl Streep's in Death Becomes Her.
Yep, yep.
How he walked out of there, I don't know. And then even a Ghostbuster. Shout out to Dan Aykroyd
Yes,
for his
I saw that.
cameo, but to no avail, right? Nothing was working out. They even attempted to demolish the house, and that was a fail. And poor little Casper running after the human, saying all he wants is a friend. Watching it this time, how did you feel about Casper's predicament? Like, it never occurred to me that he was lonely.
Oh, he absolutely was lonely. I think it's interesting. We talk about this all the time. Casper is interesting because up until this point, ghosts in media have been scary,
Terrifying.
awful, you know, Sixth Sense. You know what I mean? Like, and so like the whole tagline of him being a friendly ghost sets him aside anyway, right? And so yeah, it makes sense that he's lonely because up until this point, we don't know ghosts to be friendly. Like to befriend, like, why are you here? Why haven't you passed on anyway? So
What did you also think about the look of Casper? He is a blob, a
yes.
translucent, semi-white blob. Did they, do you feel like it was intentional to make him less human-like, to make him less scary? Like, how'd you feel about the look, the aesthetic of Casper?
That's a great call out because it's obviously intentional, right? I think it's a play on the sheet ghost that people have, right? They
That's
put on a
fair.
white sheet and try to float around.
I also think he kind of looks like a cloud. And I was like,
Yes,
it's
yes.
probably to again make him seem softer, kinder, nicer.
Because if Casper was walking around like a little boy, I think it would be terrifying because it's like you're not really human, right? Yeah, I can see through
Oh my
you.
God. That would be terrifying.
Yes. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely terrifying. So Casper sees a story on hard copy about a ghost shrink named Dr. Harvey, who was a traditional therapist until his wife passed away. And now he and his daughter, Kat, travel around from town to town while he tries to help ghosts resolve their unfinished business so they can move on. Until this watch, I did not remember that this was the setup of Dr. Harvey and why they came to the house. How did you feel about Dr. Harvey's profession and also his parenting choices? Because Kat has been in 2 years to 9
Yes.
different schools.
I think it's a personification of his grief. he doesn't want to be in one place for too long. And he buried himself into this interesting job choice. Right. And, you know, I don't know if he knows what he wants to do. You know what I mean? Like he's just looking for
Lost.
signs to see if he can see his wife again one day.
Yeah, I mean that was what it was, right? His motivation was to find his wife because he feels that she must have unfinished business. And so he promises Kat that if he doesn't find what he's looking for on this trip to Friendship, Maine, then it's a wrap. He'll leave it be. I also didn't remember that Casper could leave the house because, a lot of times in like ghost stories and stuff, they're trapped in the house.
They
Casper
are
can
trapped.
move.
Yeah, he can.
And not only can he move, he can go through wires and manipulate TVs.
I will say they were a bit inconsistent for me
Yeah.
in the roles of this ghost. Like he can touch things, he can move things, but she couldn't touch him, right?
I
Like,
feel like this happens in a lot of ghost things. I even just watched Girl Haunts Boy on Netflix. And it's like they can pick up objects if they concentrate, but they can't
yeah,
touch you,
right.
physically touch you. So that is like, I guess, a bit of a common trope, but I do feel like Casper has some extra tricks up his sleeve that
Yep.
I can't say I've seen really with many other ghosts. But I also said during this that I feel like ghosts have a lot more freedoms than other supernaturals in terms of like, there aren't a lot of hard set and fast rules for ghosts the way there are for like vampires. Like, it's not like I can't go out into the sun. It's not like I can be stabbed and killed with wood
Silver
or
or
silver. Like
what?
silver would be a werewolf, right?
Werewolf, yes.
Yeah, like I don't feel like ghosts have the same like hard and fast supernatural rules. So I feel like when you're creating them, you do have a little more license to like play, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there was any real question about who Casper was more excited to meet between Dr. Harvey and Kat because he was clearly nervous. This is the first people we've seen where he didn't race down the stairs as soon as they got there, right? He's up here trying to figure out his meet cute. How's he going to approach Kat? How's he going to introduce himself? Cute or creepy for a ghost to be crushing on you?
Yeah. I no comment. I don't know. I mean, it's like one of those things where, to your point, he's a kid and it's not like he runs into kids very often. And who knows when the last time he saw a young girl. So why not?
He may have forgot and lost his memories, but he ain't forget how to like a young lady. I tell you
It's a
that.
bit random for sure.
Well, it was definitely for the sake of the film, cute and sweet and very funny that he was building himself up to figure out how to, meet her. And then when he does, because she didn't believe in ghosts, right? Even with all that her daddy be doing, she didn't believe that ghosts exist. So she passes out. And my question is, was Dr. Harvey a fraud up to this point? Because why was he yelling?
I am convinced that he actually have not encountered ghosts up to this point. However, I will say he was open to it. Like, I think he had genuine intentions, but I don't think he actually, you know, met what he was looking for.
Yeah. Some people need a refund was my thought. But uh it definitely was funny when he encountered the three ghost bullies, as I again dubbed them, Stinky, Fatso, and Stretch, and has to fight them off with some household appliances like a vacuum cleaner. So
Were
this
they
is,
actual uncles or were they just uncles by, we're all up in this house together?
yeah, that was never made abundantly clear. But my thought is they were just some other ghosts that were trapped in that house
Yep,
because I
that's
don't
what I
think
was
they
thinking
had
too.
anything to do with Casper's family. And also, where did they come from and how long have they been
Yes,
there? you know,
yes, and
because
yes.
I'm just, it don't seem like that fit into the family dynamic of him, his mama, and his daddy. But we roll with it. So this is where I talk about the fact that Casper is Cinderella a little bit in reference to our earlier discussion, because the bullies, they got him cleaning the floors, they got him making them breakfast,
Yep,
they be bullying Casper all the time. Like, was he Cinderella in spirit form?
absolutely. And I feel bad because I don't know if he knew how to speak up for himself. You know what I mean? It's like,
He's a child.
yeah. So he's just taking these grown men at face value and they're taking advantage of the poor baby ghost.
And while Casper's being bullied at home, Kat gets bullied a bit at school by a chick named Amber. Are bullies in these types of movies always blonde? That was something I was thinking about.
Oh, yeah. Especially in the 90s, because they were like, I think it was like remnants of like the blonde being the hot girl in the 80s, right? And so by the 90s, it was like, they're the mean girls.
Literally, even in Mean Girls, even
Yeah.
in like Freaky Friday, like
Yeah.
everything, every reference I could think of, I was like, they're always blonde.
I think it's a choice.
Absolutely. The kids in Kat's class decide to have a Halloween party at her house. Did Kat even offer before the teacher took a vote? I literally put in my notes, what kind of adults are these in this film? Because don't we need to have a discussion with her father? Like, maybe I'm thinking too much with my adult brain now, because I was just like, how's this going down?
Yeah, no. they they definitely impose that on her. And it's a movie, so of course it worked out.
Did this give you Hocus Pocus vibes at all in terms of
Of
like the
course.
town and
Yes.
school and,
Yep. It was quintessential 90s suburban. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like it's like, are y'all on the East Coast somewhere?
yes,
There's
they are.
fall trees, and it definitely gave me those vibes. I agree.
Yeah. I also, I hate the fact that like new kids are always put on the spot. And I don't know or remember if this is the case actually attending school, but I'm like, I hope people don't do this to kids today. Like if there's a new kid in school, do not call them up to the front of the class and make them introduce themselves. The anxiety I felt for her.
Yeah, you're already the new kid, and now you have to speak to everybody. It's a lot.
Too much. But Casper was there for her, tied all them little kid shoes together. So we appreciate you. The uncles claimed to know Dr. Harvey's wife, Amelia, because he's decided he's going to try to treat them and help them move on with their unfinished business. Poor thing, he got his hopes up. I was crushed. Even watching this time, I was crushed. I was so ready for Amelia to be behind that door, only for Fatso to have dressed up in cosplay.
They were rude, but you know, when you're dead and in the same place for a very long time, I guess there's nothing else to do but to be ridiculous, apparently.
Yeah, and they didn't take themselves or him seriously. And also, was it presumptuous of Dr. Harvey to try to treat these random spirits? He doesn't know them.
He doesn't know them. And I do feel like he was too trusting of those ghosts because I'm like, ain't nothing about them remotely trustworthy.
No. As I mentioned earlier, Casper could not at this point remember anything about his life, but apparently he just needed to go into, I think it was the basement, it seemed like, because that's where his old toys were stored, his old sled, and the memories started coming back to him, including his death and the fact that his father, who was an inventor, had created a machine to bring Casper back to life. The ride down to that time machine was straight out of Universal. Like I loved it. I was like, I want to go
I
down
was
to the basement.
I was thinking about Emperor's New Groove with Yzma and what's her sidekick's name? Croc. It was giving me those vibes too, where it's like different layers and it's doing different things to you. It was super cute.
Yeah, it was fun. These are the types of things that make kids movies fun. It kind of reminded me of Richie Rich and why I loved Richie Rich because it's like there's just this very fun element that they create with the life that you could imagine living if you could go transport into this movie, right? Like, yes, give me a McDonald's in my house.
Can you imagine? Oh my gosh, as a kid, that was everything.
I
Um,
fantasized about having a Lee's famous recipe in my house for a very, very long
oh
time.
my goodness, you like Lee's. That's so
Yes.
funny. You know, Tyrese had like a Benihana in his backyard or something like that.
Okay.
But what is it about these wealthy men in these fictional worlds that they're like obsessed with hidden rooms and locations? Like, do they know something I don't know about? Like
Well, in this case, I think when you are trying to resurrect your dead child, that probably should happen in a
keep
secret
that
room.
close to the
Yeah,
chest.
probably keep that
Got it.
behind closed doors. It was no coincidence that the button was in a Frankenstein book. You know what I'm saying? Like he was down there playing God in the
Yeah.
basement or the cellar of that home. I think in one of the newspapers they showed he was like declared insane, right? Because that's some freaky stuff you playing with. But it was definitely fun. It was a fun little excursion. But unfortunately, just as Casper is rediscovering the machine to use, Kerrigan and Dibbs follow them and steal the potion that is needed to use to power the machine. Kerrigan ends up dying while attempting to kill Dibbs just so that one of them could turn into a ghost to go through walls to find this so-called treasure. This whole thought process was
I was
alarming
just
to me.
about to say it makes absolutely no sense. What was the guarantee that either one of them was going to show up as a ghost?
You didn't know how long the time frame would be between your death and your resurrection or whatever. There's no guarantee, especially with Kerrigan, that you wasn't going to the great beyond.
You said other places.
Yeah. And whose thought is that? Listen, it's worth dying to potentially get this whatever treasure that may be in this house that we don't even know. Like, I could see if there was even an estimate of how much money it was. I could see if there was like, it's going to be $50 million.
It was very vague. For me, it's like y'all need to figure out what this serum is, how much you need, and you know, reverse engineer. That'll be your treasure.
Chemistry, right? They were just dumb. But Kerrigan does pop back up real quick. And tries to start some shit and do what she set out to do, which was find this treasure and secure it. But Dibbs turned on her real fast. And that treasure ended up being a baseball and a glove.
What they say, treasures in the eye of the beholder.
Sure. This ain't even Sandlot, though. It wasn't even signed. You know what I'm saying? Like,
What's also interesting though is I wonder if there was value to that baseball. Although I didn't know who that player was, but you know, it could have met it would have meant some money somewhere.
you didn't know who the player was on there. It was signed, or you're saying for Sandlot?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, the signed baseball that Casper had.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't pay attention to it being signed. I was just like, you die for this. Because again,
Also,
Kerrigan ended up going to allegedly heaven. We'll see.
it's a kids movie, Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't
Mm-hmm.
going to do the heavy lifting here. Um is Casper a real name though? I don't think I've ever heard anyone name that.
I don't think I've ever heard of a Casper to this day either, unless it's somebody's like stage name. But it's not to say that there aren't some Caspers out there. So if there are, hey, we see you. But no, I don't think it blew up into a children's name that I've heard from anywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
while hanging out with the ghost bullies, doing karaoke and drinking, Dr. Harvey effing dies. And so Casper's one chance at resurrection is taken. I will never forgive Dr. Harvey for this.
This was so devastating. I was like, as a kid, I don't think you grasp how significant everything happened, because it does happen rather quickly, right? The father's drunk, something happens, he's a ghost. His daughter was in freaking shock. But Casper, no hesitation, was like, let's bring you back. Because he was so disoriented as a ghost, too. You know what I mean?
It was like he was still drunk and under the
Yeah.
influence, even though he was a ghost. I do remember this viscerally because I remember thinking that this was so messed up. Between the Can I Keep You in this was the second most memorable part of this film. And like I said, it was unforgivable to me because it was so reckless and
Yeah.
so unnecessary. And granted, what would Casper have coming back to life now? It probably wouldn't be for the best because he's been dead probably for a very, very long time. But at the same time, like, it just felt unfair. Like, if this were a book, Casper would have gotten that second shot at life, I think. He would have
You think
had his,
so?
yeah, if this was a book, a writer would have given him his happily ever after, right? And him and Kat would have figured it out. Age him up though, because nobody want to see no 12-year-olds getting together like that necessarily. But you age him up and he gets to come back to life and she gets to show him how to live.
I can't see it. I can't see it.
Come on, Delora.
You're giving me talk everlasting.
Okay.
That was early 2000. The boy lives forever type of deal.
Well, maybe I'm thinking of movies like Susie Q with my girl Amy Jo, Pink Power Ranger, where she was a ghost from like the 50s or whatever. The boy at school ends up falling for her. She has to go on, but then a variation of Susie Q ends up coming to the school. And it's like, we get our happily love ever after. So that's all I'm saying. If this is a book, y'all would have found a way for these kids to be together. But I'm going to let it go. It's not how Casper goes. So Amelia ends up showing up. She's apparently an angel slash fairy godmother. Casper's at least, because he gets one night till 10 p.m. Not midnight because he's only 12, but 10 p.m. to be human again and dance with Kat. This is the fantasy moment that lives in our childhood heads.
Can I shout out Judging Amy? I was like, it's Judging Amy. I used to watch that show back in the day with my mom. Again, random shows that I watched with my. Do you remember that show?
Yes, I remember that show. I didn't
It
watch
was
it, but
good. It was good.
this actress has been in multiple projects. She's usually lovely in this type of way, I find. But
Mhm.
I just the intenseness of Casper appearing in this moment and being locked in to go dance with Kat. And this is her party, but she over in the corner sitting down, right? The little boy she was crushing on was hanging with Amber the bully
Rude.
and trying
Yep.
to, ruin the party. Then Casper comes in like a little white knight, saves the day, dances with her, hits her with the "Can I keep you" line. My God.
He is a ride or die. I appreciate Casper in that way. Like he knew how to treat a lady.
He
He
knew how to treat a lady.
he showed her his favorite spot to think in the water. He made sure she was fed. And anybody who tried to comfort her, he got him. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He's a real one.
Yes. Second shot of life for Casper. Give me that film, somebody. Anyway, Dr. Harvey also got his closure. Amelia came and spoke to him. She told him, "You guys love me so well. I had no unfinished business. Don't let me be yours. Take care of Kat. Don't do these crazy things you've been doing, like making her wear a t-shirt under her bathing suit. Let that girl live." And so that was nice as well. Casper transformed back into a ghost in front of the entire school class.
I thought it was
So,
cute.
I guess They're not going to be coming back to any more parties, probably at Whipstaff Manor. But I feel like they got what they asked for. Y'all came
They
to a haunted
did.
house.
I also felt like, if they knew better, that would have been the coolest Halloween party of all time, right? Talk about, you know, cool effects, Ashley, cool effects.
Yeah. I mean, y'all came to a haunted house. I'm going to give y'all what y'all asked for. Y'all lucky it was just Casper because it could have been way worse.
It could
So
have been.
that's a wrap. We end with a fun little dance number because what would a 90s children's film be without a dance number, I guess? But
By the great Little Richard.
absolutely. Final thoughts on this throwback recap rewatch of Casper.
It was a classic for a reason. It was super sweet. It was a fun watch. And I love a good backstory. I think that's one of the things I love most about the story was when we finally got a glimpse into Casper's life. She asked him, how does it feel to die? And he said something to the effect, what did he say? He said, like being born but backwards. I'm like, that's such a kid thing to say, but also very sad. Oh, it also reminds me of The Guardians. Did you ever see the animated movie The Guardians and it focused on Jack Frost? Y'all, I'm just gonna make that a hidden gem. It is so good and it's similar in that he's a guardian because you have Santa, Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy, Jack Frost, and he was human at one point, but he doesn't remember how he came to be. And a little bit of a spoiler, but there was a winter accident and so there's a lot of similarities in that regard. But I loved getting glimpses of Casper's past, and then his dad's laboratory was the coolest, as you mentioned before. So it was a good time, Ashley.
Yes, it was definitely a good time. And like I said, always love rewatching these things and discovering some new things as an adult. And that Can I Keep You Line still hits so hard, as well as just the fact that like those kids' movies of our day were concise. You know what I'm saying? Run times, concise. Storyline,
To
tight.
the point.
Give me what I need and let's get up out this theater because we got things to do. You know what I'm saying?
We
Like,
do. We play outside and
girl,
everything.
ain't no, every movie does not need to be 2.5 hours, guys. Like, seriously, I'm telling you, you can do it. So I love Casper. It's such a timely, feel good movie for this time of year for me. And I'm glad we got a chance to talk about it a little bit. If you have not rewatched Casper, again, it is available to stream on Peacock. All right, Delora, you already got into Hidden Gems a bit. What else do you have for the people for the week?
All right. As I mentioned, Rise of the Guardians, it was a movie that came out in 2012. It's an hour and 37 minutes. Highly recommend it. I mean, all the faves. Chris Pine is voicing one of the characters, Hugh Jackman, Jude Law, Alec Baldwin, and Isla Fisher. Super cute. It actually is quite deep. So I love a good children's stories that like really have like meaningful messages behind it. And then I talked about this during our hot topic headlines episode last week, but the Ohio Renaissance Festival, it was a treat. Like I said, it was peak people watching, but more importantly, it was a good time. I talked about the turkey leg, but I also had like this, they called it like a chimney barrel or something like that. They stuffed it with like apples and ice cream. It was really good. And there was a lot of cool shops. There was this one um dress shop place that I swear if you want to dress like Bridgerton, you go there. It's more Queen Charlotte in terms of that era than Bridgerton, in terms of like, the historical dress, but they had gorgeous gowns, gorgeous gowns. Shout out if you know that reference. That's what I have, Ashley. How about you?
All right. So Apple TV has brought me a new gem of a series. Y'all know I love Apple TV project. This one is Disclaimer. Kate Blanchett stars in this. I have been seeing the trailer and I'm like, ooh, what are we about to sink our teeth into? They did not give much away. 2 episodes are out currently. It is about a journalist who is receiving a mysterious delivery that exposes some things about her past that she has buried, right? And so you see her, you see Kevin Kline in this, you see Sacha Baron Cohen in this, and it's just kind of going to unravel over the course of this limited series. It's another one that is basically a film broken out into a TV series, and I am here for it. I'm locked in. Can't wait to continue. So check that out. Disclaimer, Apple TV Plus. Then my second hidden gem, I've been waiting for this, and I just started it yesterday. It is Beyond Black Beauty on Prime. For all the horse girlies out there, especially Black ones, this one is for you. This is a reboot of the classic, and it is starring a young lady who is basically star horseback riding, prone to go to the Olympics, champion rider. And she is taken from her home and moved to the United States in Baltimore with her mother. And so she's trying to figure it out, right? There's some stuff going on with her dad. And, we got Black cowboys, we got Black culture, we got a lot of things going on. And I'm just excited to see it. I feel like with the resurgence of projects from folks like Beyonce and just different things that are really paying homage over these last few years, at least in terms of pop culture, to Black writers and Black cowboy culture and all these things. It's a fun project to kind of fall in line with that. So here for it. Available on Amazon Prime, one season, I should say, of the series, and we'll see what happens. But those are my 2 hidden gems for this week, guys. Looking forward to coming back soon, Delora, for more with Interview with the Vampire, because I know we started that series and it is not finished yet.
Yes. We're getting a lot of views on YouTube, so shout out to everybody who watches us on YouTube.
Yes, and I'm still waiting on somebody to let me log into y'all AMC Plus account so I can watch season 2.
Okay. I'm ready for it. Seriously.
Somebody give me the credentials, please.
Openly asking.
Tired of paying for all this stuff. Okay. Anyway, guys, thank you for sticking with us for this episode. We appreciate it. I hope you guys are getting excited for Halloween. Me and Delora have been invited to a costume party, and I can't wait to go because I love dressing up for Halloween.
I have no idea what I'm wearing.
I've already ordered a costume, Delora.
Mars Halloween that I have not thought about myself. So we will see.
It's going to be an event. I can't wait. No matter what, we're going to eat, drink, and be merry. So that's the most important thing. But I do love a good costume party, so I'm excited. But hope you guys are gearing up and getting excited, getting the candy, getting the kids ready, getting your costumes, getting your fall wardrobe, whatever you want to do, your pumpkin spice shit, whatever you like to do this time of year. Do you, baby. Please share this episode with everybody you know. We so appreciate it. We'll be back. But in the meantime, as always, be blessed.
Bye.